Turned your camera off.
Welcome everyone to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm showing off my beard to the crowd tonight. The last minute decision before I turn my camera off, and a real reason to be here for the beginnings of any minion. You never know what you're going to see. And with me, I have Minion Prospero, my old buddy.
Hello.
My favorite curmudgeon. Fellow curmudgeon. So you're in for an evening of curmudgeonry.
I've been staying off of Twitter because it gets me so annoyed. But I swear to God, I go out anywhere online for like 3 minutes and I'm pissed off. I instantaneously see a story that just makes me livid.
It really is getting a little crazy out there now. When I saw the Dalai Lama accused of, and he evidently did this in public in an interview situation, asked for some kid to suck his tongue or so, and he did. I saw the tape, and it was
dude,
horrifying.
The expression is pull my finger, not suck my tongue. It's like, was there something the matter with the translation here?
Oh my. Oh, dude.
Of all people, you know?
It's
kind of like, ew.
You killed the Dalai Lama. You bastard.
Yeah, I know. You killed yourself, dude. It was just like grim.
Yeah.
Grim.
Like,
that was another one of those stories that I was like, God damn it, there isn't anybody I can admire anymore.
Do you think God every once in a while just says, nah, that religion's just getting a little bit too big for his britches? I'm gonna have a little fun.
I don't know. I wish he'd aim his
highlight and click smite.
Highlight, click smite, and I wish he'd take a little more interest in government right now.
Yeah.
Because we may understand separation of powers, but they don't.
You know, speaking of government, I watched Tucker Carlson's interview with President Trump. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
My God.
I bet it was a shit show.
It's worth watching. It's Trump just basically getting softball questions and just saying what the hell he wants to. He actually talked about foreign policy most of the time. Good. Mostly bragging about, you know, how great he was at foreign policy and how shit Biden is, which is, you know, he isn't wrong, but
Trump was
I don't think he helped himself. I don't think he helped himself in this interview, is what I'm saying.
Trump is accidentally great at foreign policy.
Yeah.
In that his personal style of management made him very difficult to read for most people. And he is difficult to read in that regard because
it gives him an almost Mr. Magoo-like trajectory through the policy, you know, questions that he has to face. I know exactly what you mean. You know, Magoo,
the idiot savant or the idiot savant.
Right. Yeah.
Just Kushner, though, had a good feel for it. And in that sense, using his son-in-law to great effect, he did some absolutely amazing things that I actually did not think I'd see in my lifetime.
He's actually a really capable guy, evidently.
Jared Kushner, yes, he is, and open-minded in regard to, you know, for all the concern about Semitic people. No. And their interests, and for all the accusations of grifting.
Oh no, he's a big positive for the relations with Israel.
A huge positive for the relations with Israel, but a great positive for the relation between Israel and their neighbors. Because
you mean like the way he was getting them to sign agreements with Jordan and
fucking Saudi Arabia let them fly over their airspace. Something they really hadn't done yet.
With 2 Jewish pilots.
Yes, and not
symbolically, that was a big deal.
It was an enormous deal. And Bahrain.
Bahrain, always alert to the main chance, right?
Yeah.
Bahrain, money grubbers of all money grubbers.
Use that to your advantage. Always use that to your advantage. And
just,
in that regard, Trump's style of doing business, which is work things to your advantage when, always.
Oh yeah.
Always make it so that it is
claw, kick, and scream.
And make it so that it's to the other guy's advantage.
Yeah.
And that's what Kushner was able to do, because
he was able to leave some on the table. Exactly.
Israel's a big pot of money waiting to be exchanged between other countries that are interested in big pots of money, and
it's a big resource pool.
And UAE, Bahrain, those countries are very interested in where they have investment opportunities, where they can move capital around.
They want to buy Israeli microcircuitry is what they want to buy.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Absolutely fine, because Israel will do what Israel...
May 1,000 flowers bloom. Yes. Because that commerce will conquer religious prejudice over time. Commerce will always win. Yes.
Economic need will drive an awful lot, and the Saudi Arabians should learn this more quickly than they have been learning it.
Yeah.
It's been a very slow learning curve for the Saudis on that, because they have a kingdom.
About the problem. Think about the problem, though, that the Royal House of Saud is. I'm not arguing for them. I'm just saying that they're acting rationally.
Oh yes, they have a very delicate path they have to walk.
Exactly.
Because Mecca is within their borders.
It's so easy to get executed.
Yes, it is.
Just say.
And it's so easy to have an internecine war break out within the House of Saud, like they haven't ever
break out.
It is a constant state. They're like the Borgias writ large,
right? Exactly. You
thought Italians had big families. Right. You thought Italians had big families.
Hey man,
beep. Look at the House of Saud.
That's the same blood just down the coast.
Yeah, but I'm it's boop shooby.
Boop shooby crazy.
Oh yeah. But because Saudi Arabia has that two-tiered system of the royals, the toadies, the people that depend on the oil industry, who all have money, and then the rest of the country.
They have a very
which are a bunch of
slave class. They have an actual slave class in Saudi Arabia. It's much worse in Yemen, but it's very well ensconced in Saudi. And the Royal House of Saud, those people, they see that stuff and they just flip out. That's like a bunch of redneck hillbillies, up somewhere. Indulging in cannibalism. That's the way they are inbred. They're horrified by that.
Inbred knee-knocking lunatics. And the thing is if there's a figure in history I could go back and trip his horse, hopefully not hurt the horse, but maybe he'd fall off and break his neck, it'd be T.E. Lawrence. He's one of those, lions of history, Lawrence of Arabia, but he helped bring the House of Saud to power, and Jesus fuck.
If the house, let me ask you this: if the House of Saud had not come to power, we don't have to talk about this, but who do you think would have come to power? What it would have been the next most dominant.
It would have been nice if one of
there were a couple of regional tribes.
The Hashemites could have done it. That would have been nice because they've been
fighting each other.
Yeah, but the Hashemites have always been a lot easier to negotiate with. I mean, when you think of King Hussein, you don't think of a lunatic.
No, but I think of
highly practical man.
Yeah, he was atypical as far as I'm concerned.
It's more Western.
That's not typical Jordanian. Yeah,
it was very Western.
Jordanians are just glad that Palestine exists. They have somebody to look down on.
Yes.
I mean, that's not too far from the truth.
Nothing much happened.
The Arab Brotherhood. No, there's no Arab Brotherhood. These guys despise each other.
No, and nothing much happened out of Abdullah marrying a Palestinian. If you notice, nothing much happened.
Yeah.
She got out.
Yeah, girl got out.
but nobody else came along.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably, and she may have. I mean, she should consider herself lucky.
Yeah.
But Abdullah is a lot like his father, very Western. They remind me of
Jordan is
Egypt in the old days.
Yes,
Egypt in the old days.
Exactly right. They are one generation away from being interesting.
They're Nasser Sadat Egypt, where they looked westward. Very, very much like Turkey was back in the day.
Not the Mubarak fascist Egypt.
No, not that. Which actually, wasn't. The weird thing is
it wasn't terrible for us actually, but
it wasn't because with the rise of militant Islam, Mubarak was the perfect person to have in Egypt, which is of course why idiots like Mayor Clinton's wanted him gone, because they like turbulence.
Yeah.
These people like chaos. I mean, they're like little imps of Satan. I hate to say it that way because it makes me sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. But everything they do is to sow destruction. Getting rid of there is absolutely example.
Yeah,
Mubarak.
for example.
Yeah, or a better example, Libya.
Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty good example.
Gaddafi, getting rid of Gaddafi was insane. Absolutely insane. He was our bitch.
Such an unforced
He was
error.
our bitch.
I know.
And the thing is
it's like shooting one of your confidential informants.
Well, you look at the foreign policy towards Syria, same insanity. And it's like, stop it. Stop it. You don't understand. Let that be Putin's problem. Let it be. If he wants that as a little sphere of influence, it's not going to have any impact except to make Israel safer.
Russia's going to take Crimea no matter what.
Yeah, they're going to hold
They're going to take Crimea, and I don't think there's anything that can defeat it. The thing that they need to do is negotiate an ironclad deal with Russia, saying, "Okay, we're going to give you this piece of Crimea. We'll give you access to the Black Sea."
Mm-hmm.
And but after that, wow, motherfucker. Get
out of Mubarak and get out of that
Ukraine
area.
is now NATO territory, and you put your nose across that border. We're going to be on you like white on rice.
I just absolutely despise adding them to NATO, but it's a necessity now.
No, it's a political absolute necessity.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't before. You could have hammered.
That was another unforced error, by the way.
Well, and it was something that never would have occurred under Trump, and it's only because of the accident of fortification that you ended up with Putin seeing the opportunity.
I wanted to ask
Crimea had already fallen.
I wanted to ask you about what you thought about Trump's unpredictability factor. Do you think that was a first-term thing, or I think he cowed other leaders, because they thought he might be unpredictable and maybe crazy, and they were believing
they were believing the TDS press, the early on TDS press.
Yes,
that dog ain't gonna hunt again.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
But the interesting thing is one of the bats he used was economics and economics talks. We discussed this at length at the beginning.
He used tariffs, which is a form of economic pressure.
Yeah,
but he didn't do anything, with respect to trade. He just started charging them a toll.
Yeah, and also fussing about NATO dues and things like that, which I think was very important. That somebody needed to discuss that elephant in the room, and everybody was being so respectful of old Europe, like it's anything to respect. This is the thing I do not understand. It's like our foreign policy is mired in the goddamn 19th century, where we still look across the pond and we look at those old institutions as if we are supposed to hold them in reverence. We'd have committed regicide if he was in the country. Okay. when we had our revolution.
Well, if
We
we did
committed
not have
political
NATO,
regicide. We committed political regicide to
Yeah.
get away from old Europe. And the reason why the ever-loving shit we have ever given a shit about the opinion of certain European countries has gobsmacked me.
Mhm.
Particularly France. After what de Gaulle did in the 60s, fuck France.
Yeah, we do a lot of trade with them. They
Yeah, we do
buy
a lot of trade.
lot of stuff
And they
from
will
us.
still buy stuff from us, even if we say, nah, you know, fuck you, we're flying over your airspace, kiss my ass.
Mm.
They like to flex their little muscles once in a while, and
Yeah.
it's cute. I mean, it's cute because it really doesn't inconvenience us that much. But if you remember when we went into Libya in 1993 or whatever the hell it was, no, it was under Reagan. That thing, you can't fly over our airspace. Oh my God. You know, it's our airspace. I hate to point out to you, but Europe can't protect its own airspace without the
Right.
United States and England.
That's absolutely right. It's
So
absolutely correct.
chomp on it.
That's why we still have Air Force bases
Yes.
in Europe, is for Europe's protection. Those Air Force bases
Not
are
Naviano
not
for our
there.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're not dotted all over Italy. Yeah, because it's a
Isn't Germany lovely in the winter? Don't I love getting in a cold plane?
Oh God, no kidding.
You know, it's like that I'll see how regime worship just pisses me off. And it's one of the things I liked about Trump is he's not well enough educated to even know about the Ancien regime. If you get my drift,
Yeah.
there's certain things
of that class.
Well, also that he
of
just doesn't.
education.
Yeah, he just doesn't have that stupid Ivy League. I might as well have gone to university in Europe attitude.
No.
You know, and none of the Ivy Leagues are producing people that Oxford and Cambridge will
he
produce.
would never have been accepted into the old money bunch.
No. Oh no,
You know,
no.
not with Dad, a paltry millionaire. You know,
No, he's a filthy businessman. He was a filthy businessman.
Yeah,
Those people
he's
are
a tradesman.
Unbelievable hypocrites. Unbelievable hypocrites. Yes, he has the smell of the shop about him.
The smell of his shop, perfect.
Yeah, they used to be called social mushrooms.
Yes. Yes. I haven't heard that term in a long time.
But you know, once again, by the Ancien regime.
Yeah.
You know, where you have aristocrats and lesser royalties and that kind of stuff banging around, and people that were always the toadies and hangers on to that group having opinions about Donald Trump. Well, that's not, you're entitled to your opinion, but your snooty attitude.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen that Habsburg chin.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, so quit it. Yeah. Quit it with we're just a little too reverent of, well, poor Europe, we have to protect them. Well, their GDPs of certain countries did not match their input into NATO, and there was no reason for us to be footing the bill.
You know, for countries that came to us in 1941 and said, for the love of Christ, intervene, come over here and help us. We are losing this fucking war to this maniac. They and we did.
They have a set on them, don't they?
God damn, they do. That just pisses me off.
The British are very careful about it. There's a long enough standing positive relationship between our two countries that for the negatives.
There was also the Battle of Britain.
Yeah,
they were brave.
Well, somebody
the French
I know
were not. Somebody
I know that was teaching in England, who's an American, heard somebody, you know, it was whether he was at the British Museum or, you know, wherever, fussing about Americans. And I think he said, it's really lovely to see all these artworks displayed. Didn't you just hate the Marshall Plan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't you just hate the Marshall Plan?
Yeah.
Because a lot of your treasures were restored and a lot of things got repaired because of the Marshall Plan. So you can hate
Your
us
countries
all
got
you want.
rebuilt because of the Marshall Plan. Your people got fed because of the Marshall Plan.
You can
Fucking Marshall Plan did everything for them.
hate us all you want.
But
God
damn.
It's the Germans don't. It's interesting. The Germans don't have quite the same. The British.
We saved their ass, rebuilt them, then paid all the bills for the alliance for a zillion years, and they are bitching at us, and we take it because why?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's that respect for the ancien regime, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
No. How about no?
Yeah, really. How about you fit the bill for this? Now, the British, I will say, have always done their bit in defense of the world. Through NATO. I mean, they build great ships, they build great aircraft, they train their soldiers well. They've had our back. They've had our back in some of our follies.
Oh yeah.
And we owe them an apology for some of those follies. But looking at you, W and Blair, but so I don't hold the same degree of contempt for the British.
No, not at all.
That I do for the rest of old Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't hold Europe in contempt. I mean, European history was what I studied, predominantly British.
But what irritates you is that European attitude, that entitled attitude.
Snooty shits.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking down on me, just...
What about moi?
Oh, yeah, well, particularly the French. The Parisians, particularly the Parisians.
Yeah.
It's not the French, but it's the French educated classes because they're all... I mean, I'm talking the Sorbonne crowd.
We're not talking a Bordeaux farmer here.
No, I'm talking about the beautiful lavender of Provence and the marvelous fishermen. And except when you get after in scallop wars with the British, really seriously, when was the last time you built a gunship? I'm like, you don't want the British Navy coming over here. You really don't. The perfect thing to do was something like the scallop wars between the French and the English that were going on. With guys bumping each other's boats. It's so retarded, right? Playing in the channel like bratty children on a schoolyard. Would have been to have, just have a subsurface in between them. Who's playing now? Hi. Oh, hello.
Shit got real.
Yeah, pop the top and have somebody stick out their head. Say hello. Did you have one of these?
Yes.
And the French would be like, oh, shit. And they'd have to go home.
Do you have any gray plutonium?
Yeah. But it's and look, I won't knock the French aviation industry. They've done really good work. The Mirage was an amazing plane.
Yep.
And they can build ships. They're just not particularly great at keeping them afloat.
Oh, the new aircraft carrier that's coming out is going to be good.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be a dandy.
And it's nice.
It's going to be one that works. It's going to be very much like a British aircraft carrier.
Well, yeah, because the information has been shared, but now particularly that Europe is united under the EU, and I hate to tell people but the pandemic pretty much scuppered Brexit.
But here's the thing: it still will be, it'll carry about 64 planes if memory serves, and that's 64 probably Eurofighter Typhoons or something like that can be projected into a theater, ostensibly on our side, I hope. And that's a good thing, and it's good.
Securing the Mediterranean is very helpful.
Yep, absolutely, and it's good that Britain has a couple of carriers.
They're more like pocket carriers, aren't they?
No. Here's the thing: they have two full-size carriers that are Nimitz class size carriers.
Okay.
They have two of those. Then they have a bunch of
the pockets.
In fact, the Brits have just said, "Oh, we are all about the F-35 on, coming in as a jump jet," and we'll fly tankers out to them. We don't care how much fuel they use. Fuck the fuel.
Yeah, we like
and
this.
but I love that approach because it just it's so positive. It's such a take the bull by the horns kind of
Mm-hmm.
approach. It is we can put a whole bunch of power out with a bunch and spread our risk across a bunch of ships. Of course, also makes for more targets. You know, it's a complicated calculus, but it's one that is very inviting, especially when, you know, for a lot less money than the U.S. spends maintaining its carrier fleet, you can project a lot of planes out there with the right kind of munitions and ECM stuff to beat your enemy,
Well,
to
protecting the
control whatever
eastern,
you want to control.
protecting a good portion of the Eastern Atlantic and the Mediterranean
Mhm.
frees up our ability to repurpose some of our stuff conceivably, mothball some things, repair some things.
Mhm.
You know, our Navy needs a fair bit of repair work done in a couple of its fleets. And
Oh no, our navy needs a lot of work right now.
I was trying to be
It's in
gentle.
terrible shape.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I mean, I think the 7th and the 8th are apparently
Yeah.
just in shit shape, which is
Yeah.
not the kind of news I want to hear given where they are.
I want to talk about Assassin's comment. The ski jump is not an aircraft carrier. Yeah, it actually is an aircraft carrier. They can launch and recover aircraft carriers on it, but it does not have a steam catapult or a electric catapult like American carriers do. So it doesn't have the steam assisted takeoff. And so that's why that lame ramp at the end, and sometimes some of the airplanes can't take off with a full load of fuel. But you know, that's the great thing about having the ram. And
Well, when
but
you're
those are
dealing with
that's
a
a deal with.
sea like the Mediterranean,
Hmm.
this is kind of the perfect answer.
What is?
The, the smaller carriers,
Oh
and
well,
you
yeah,
know, you're dealing with a much smaller geographic. I mean, it's a good sized area that requires a lot of
yeah. It depends
okay,
on the
whatever.
battle.
Sorry.
What's that?
I was just saying, okay, whatever, assassin. You want to argue with the Navy guy about what is and what isn't a carrier? Go ahead.
Anything is
I'll
not a
wait.
carrier. All right. Well, no, I would say because you, in saying that, assassin, you're saying that the Enterprise is not a carrier, and the Enterprise is a carrier. It's much smaller than the Ford class, but uh, uh, it is still an aircraft carrier. So there are lots of aircraft carriers. Our LPHs are aircraft carriers. They landing platform helicopters. You know what those are? And they carry a bunch of Marines and a bunch of helicopters and a whole bunch of hell uh, to project, you know, anywhere we want to. And that's so, you know, I would say that those are aircraft carriers and personnel carriers. There are lots of carriers. It's practically one of the big
Technically
things that,
speaking, if you can land aircraft on it
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you know,
and
now with the
store aircraft on it, that's an aircraft carrier, you
with
know.
VTOL now, you know, you know, any ship could be an aircraft carrier. You could have your own personal, you know, F-35 on the back of a destroyer if you wanted to.
Mhm.
And that's actually an interesting idea. I think we'll get there.
Yeah, but I mean, in a needs must situation, you would like that flexibility,
Yep.
but it's just good on the British and good on the French for building something that's
Yep.
useful. I don't mean to knock them to that extent. The
No.
French actually are, you know, they should be a whole lot more like us than they are. But
Oh yeah. That they will their carrier will look and operate just like one of the big British carriers.
yeah,
But that having a big Western carrier, that's not a bad thing. It's not a
yeah,
bad thing for them to have.
At least I haven't heard any more noise about an EU army,
Well,
which cheers me up because, oh my God, you talk about a shit show.
Oh yeah.
Who's going to organize that? Who's going to command it? The British don't want to because they have their own system and they don't want to play. They don't play well with others. Okay.
Yep.
For good reason. They play reasonably well with the Anglosphere, and occasionally, and quite well with India, because that's part of the Anglosphere. But they're not going to want to go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And they're not going to want to go slog around in the woods with a bunch of dumbass Belgians. Who, if you get my point.
Yeah. Assassin says Brussels will command the EU army, of course.
Right, and that's why the British are going to be like, lol.
Yeah. Brexit has consequences.
Can we remind you of a little place called Waterloo? Do you really want a do-over?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you want a do-over, because we can fight it from where we're sitting and never even have to get our feet wet.
Waterloo was England's
near
revenge. Yeah, that's true. But it was England's revenge for being driven off the continent.
Yeah, and the Prussians just came along for fun.
Oh, exactly. Well, thank God they came along.
Yeah, good for Blucher. He's a hero in my book.
He was. He absolutely was. I mean,
while the Austrians were fapping around being supposed allies of France, the Prussians were just like, let's go kill some frogs.
Yeah. And the English did not break their blocks.
No.
Not break their squares.
It without Blucher, it's very, very difficult to tell how that would have played out. He led so many forces away on that bait and switch. Where he put
that was the whole infantry that was coming in to back up the French cavalry that had just made a charge on the blocks. The blocks did not break, and so there was supposed to be infantry coming up to engage the infantry, and they were not there. There was nothing, and they said that after they rode through, everybody just sort of stood around looking at each other, saying, Where are the rest of the troops? And as soon as they realized they
were north.
That was the beginning of the end for the French, I think.
Well, the nice thing is basically what Blucher did is he started north, drawing them off. He and most of his complement broke away, sending like a company, continued north to scatter and disappear, so that you had just pulled all these people when he came back around to the battlefield, to the main battle that day, after having done the Quatre and the whole thing in the first day of the war. Because it's a 3-day engagement, the 16th through the 18th. And but it was just a brilliant maneuver for him to lure that much of a force away from the field, because had he not been there to do that, nor gotten back when he did, because it meant he wasn't there for a while. So the added compliment was necessary for when Napoleon marshaled his last go. That's when it could have become a near thing for the British.
Speaking of Napoleon Marshall, the conduct of Marshal Ney, that was a motivated guy.
Yep.
And didn't work out for him, of course.
Oops.
Yeah.
There are a lot of oops. That was just such a God.
Have you ever read the story of his execution?
No.
He asked to. He was shot in military uniform, and he gave the order to the troops. This will be my last order to you all. Fire, and that was his last words. And they shot him. He was
for all the service he had given to France.
I know exactly.
He deserved that much honor.
It was that must have been a very strange moment.
Well, yes. I would not have wanted to participate with my commanding general telling me to shoot him.
Oh my gosh.
But then Napoleon would have shot you if he hadn't happened. You know, I mean, that's just the problem with Napoleon. There were glimmers of genius and a whole lot of madness.
Well, you know, Ney had been sent out to go talk Napoleon out of the tree. Napoleon convinced Ney that his prospects were better with Napoleon than with the government. And that was Ney's fatal mistake. Ney should have come back and said, I talked to him, he's crazy. Go for it.
Yeah.
And but the other thing was Ney truly did not want to fight Napoleon.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Because Napoleon was, again, like the idiot savant. He was an inspired general.
Yeah. He also had luck. For most of his career, he had a lot of luck on his side.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit like George Washington. We don't remember George Washington as a general so much as we remember Washington as a dedicated man, a man dedicated to the ethos of the revolution.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah, I mean, the original Superman. But
but he really kind of was, wasn't he?
Well, duty. God, that man embodied the word duty. Poor son of a bitch just wanted to go live on his farm. And he just kept getting dragged back into it because there were no adults in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Or the adults that were in the room kept fighting with each other. And he was the one person who could make somebody who was like a protege of his, like Alexander Hamilton, to sit down and stop yelling at Benjamin Franklin, you know, or something like that. Yeah. You know, Franklin was an old man at the time of the
people don't realize how much older he was than
and Jefferson was a hothead too, like Hamilton. And, you know, the two redheads were a bit of a problem.
How old was John Adams let me just look up
he was about the same age as Jefferson.
All right, he was born in 1735, so he was 40. Who was the one who was super young in the founding father who was the...
Well, Hamilton was a baby.
Is it Hamilton I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he was a very
substantially younger than everybody else. He's like 19 years old when the revolution went off or something.
Yeah, he was quite young.
Alexander Hamilton was only 21. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what
he's the baby.
I think it was. Yeah,
he's the baby and temperamental. And Jefferson was a bit temperamental, but I mean,
he was 21, and when Benjamin Franklin was 70.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Franklin was a bit like Churchill. He was like this unstoppable machine, you know, for a very long, productive life. But to control.
He was Elon Musk and Einstein rolled into one.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing, very eccentric individual, fascinating man, and very pragmatic in many ways. You know, he certainly wasn't pie and, you know, head in the clouds. Paine was the firebrand and also heady in the cloudy. You know, he was such an idealist about certain things, and I think Franklin, you know, just roll his eyes at him. You know, the whole thing about
Paine saw bright lines and sharp shadows.
Oh God,
and Benjamin Franklin saw shades of gray.
Yeah, he did. He was much more diplomatic.
Paine was a hothead.
Yeah, well, the argument they got into about Paine's atheism,
right,
and his advocacy for it, and you know, I mean, it's like empathy and all these and morality are innate, and it's like, well, yeah, they may be, but you learned yours in a pew. You know, you grew up in the milieu of the Western European Judeo-Christian ethos. What are you talking about? You just weren't hatched fully knowledgeable like you're trying to say you were. So shut up. Also, Paine was, God, I mean,
I think of him as like a Sam Harris of the time.
Yeah, I'm also amazed that at no point during the French Revolution was he not arrested and, well, he was, but not executed. Because he was just
he almost got that done. He almost got
yeah. I mean,
he almost got killed in France.
Such a rabble rouser and a pain in the English ass too.
Yeah,
it's one of the reasons why you saw some really hard liners among the British, because a pamphleteer like Paine that they had to continue
who
to
were the
let live.
hardliners among the British? I mean, I just
the
don't know.
the not Burke crowd.
Okay, all right. So,
the other
all the other people, when I go and back and read Burke and I see these other people responding to him or talking to him, it was those other people.
The Tories would have been the Whigs were always the reformers. So, well, they became known as the reformers, and the Tories would have been the royalists. And it's just, there were Whig voices arguing against the revolution. There were, and against
Wasn't Burke a Whig? Burke was a Whig,
yeah,
right?
I'm pretty sure it was, because
he was a Whig, I'm sure.
Even though he was a bit hardline at times about certain things, there were ideas of the American Revolution that he very much approved of.
Yeah, he was a Whig. I just looked it up.
But he wasn't an anti-royalist, so it's a bit like Churchill, who was incredibly fond of the American system, but a royalist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he was a man who walked in both worlds. His mother being American, I think, had a lot to do with that.
I thought he was extremely rational.
Churchill, yeah, he was very intensely pragmatic.
Intensely pragmatic.
Well, he had no choice. He had
Why do you say that?
Well, he had several Hobson's choices during the war.
Oh, yeah.
Coventry.
He didn't even have Hobson's choice.
Yeah.
He had to sit there and just take one for the team.
Get the people out that you can get under cover of darkness.
Coventry was not a one-off, by the way. You know that. There were other Coventries.
Things like that happened all the time to Winston Churchill.
Monthly.
They were just, you could not let them know that Enigma was,
working.
You just couldn't let them know.
That was just
so
important.
The cost, and his ability to say, but the cost otherwise is too great. And to do that kind of balance, to try to mitigate,
to have to negotiate that calculus.
Oh my God. Especially in a beautiful town like Coventry. And it's one of the reasons that Churchill cheerleaded the bombing of Dresden.
Now, Dresden was a total payback.
Yes, it was.
You know that it was. There was no industry left in that town.
There were still rail lines. Huh? Rail lines were about it. Getting rid of the rail lines was about it, and it didn't require bombing the town.
I was going to say that this is normally.
It's a weakness. Let's
kill 100,000 people.
That is a weak moment of vengeance.
Yeah, that was.
On Churchill's part, to
cheerlead
and promote.
The other thing was the troops there. They wanted some payback for the Battle of Britain.
Of course they did.
For real wanted that.
And if that's the extent of the war crimes they committed,
Mazel tov.
Shit, because we can't even get into the others.
Yep.
The countless dead of East London.
Yep.
Just won't even bother. That I don't think people understand, unless they've done any reading about the Battle of Britain. There is a really nice book that Philip Ziegler wrote about
I've seen
London
that book.
London at War.
I've read part of that book.
Yeah,
Charles Ziegler. Yes.
And the British being the British, God love them. Part of the book contained a story where, two women were discussing, wanting to get their hair done. Basically, because this is the kind of thing that would happen. Should someone find their head in the tree after being blown from their home, they wanted to look good.
It's important to look good.
Yeah. It's just your head in the tree.
When you're decorating a
yeah
macabre.
But you were, neighborhoods were being blown apart. People were, this was in London, and this was in a very, very heavily populated section of London.
Oh, yeah.
And they evacuated the children, as many as they could. It speaks highly of the royal family. That is the farthest they'd send their children away was Windsor, because that was easily in bombing range, because it's just straight line down from London.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
A hiccup and a poop away, but when Buckingham Palace was finally damaged, not greatly, but damaged, that's when the Queen Mother, who we came to call the Queen Mother, that's now I can look the people of East London in the eyes. What a remarkable thing to say.
Just
what classy people. Oh God, really? Just
we said the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, and you look at her great grandson.
That's funny.
That piece of shit.
I know. What
he has become.
What the hell happened to you?
From that kind of greatness.
Yeah.
Of Bertie and Elizabeth weathering that. And their daughter learning to be a mechanic, how to drive an ambulance. At least, and David was very good with the troops. I can't knock that. He was good when he was younger, but and then in just such a short period of time, this is what happens. Good times breed weak men.
These are the weakest men.
Yeah. Hard times breed good
Harry
men.
And that Harridan he's married to, what's her face?
The Harkles. God loves South Park. Never has a couple needed skewering more than they.
South Park nailed it.
They make Kanye and Kim Kardashian and all that stuff look normal.
They surely do.
Yeah, which is freaking tragic.
What's interesting is that somebody who has access to all that power, all those resources, can be that deluded, petty, small thinking, ignorant.
Whiny.
Demonstrably all these things. Each one of those things I can back up with. There's tape on it.
He's a whiny little cunt.
He really is. How the hell did that happen?
Mommy's
Wasn't he a helicopter pilot or some damn?
No, that's his brother was the helicopter pilot. He was part of the anti-mine and anti-AED unit in Afghanistan until his cover got blown. Reporter caught on, and that was that. He had to come home. But no, it's his brother who was the search and rescue pilot.
So what was Harry in the military? What did Harry do in the military?
He was part of a unit that was, last I knew, seeking out IEDs, and that was what he was attached to. I don't know. He may have sat around.
It says Prince Harry has
smelled his own farts.
It says Prince Harry has served as an Apache helicopter pilot gunner with
he was. Okay, good.
British Army Air Corps from September 2012 for 4 months until January 2013, when they realized he might get his ass shot down.
Well, Assassin said he first led combat troops on the ground, and then after his cover was blown, he became the gunner.
Mm.
And then they were like, and then, I mean, he was doing his part. He certainly was doing his part. He was not shirking his military.
Oh no,
service.
he was a forward air controller. Okay, in 2007, 2008, and then as an Apache pilot between September 2012. That was 4 years later. So 4 years earlier, he was a forward air controller for the 2 years between 2007 2008. Then 4 years later, September to January 2012 2013, he was an Apache pilot. I have.
They almost all learned how to fly. It's really interesting.
Well, now, what did William do? What did William do in the
rescue helicopter?
Now, he was a pilot too, so they're both pilots.
Yeah. Well, their dad was.
Okay.
If I recall, wasn't Charles attached to the helicopter?
I cannot remember. I don't remember what
Andrew. Did Andrew fly? I don't know whether he did or not. He may not have, but Charles, I believe, did. So, and
let's see. Oh no, Charles was a naval officer. He took command of the coastal mine hunter HMS Brownington. Now that is,
Andrew was Navy also.
That is a. Do you know what a coastal minesweeper is? There's oceanic minesweepers.
They're like the old revenue boats that sail up and down the coast.
Do you remember McHale's Navy?
Yes, I do.
That's a coastal mine hunter.
That was a PT boat.
Yeah, well, but that's the same size.
Okay,
that's the size that we're talking.
I would presume these are.
Yes, it had torpedo. It had torpedo launchers on it. I know the difference, but
no depth charges. Damn,
My point is that that is the hull that you would have on a mine hunter, roughly. The only thing about it is the mine hunters would be made out of wood, so as not to set off the mines. Those fucking mine hunters in World War II were scary.
Yeah.
My father-in-law was the CEO of one in the Pacific, and he trolled for mines out in the Coral Sea. And he knew guys. He'd have dinner with them. Aboard some ship. Then they'd go back to their ships and be out at sea the next day, and that entire boat was blown to smithereens. That was the real stuff. Very interesting guy.
Charles did fly. He did parachute training in the late 70s and continued to pilot.
I'm sure Charles is a private pilot, isn't he?
No, I believe he was a pilot. He was trained, though, in the military. He was qualified to fly Chipmunk basic.
I know that he had parachute wings. I didn't think that he was a. I thought he was like an infiltrator kind of guy, and the parachute. Went through the parachute training.
He did go through parachute.
Did he, or did he? He may not have. I may have that wrong. That's probably somebody.
No, he did do parachute training.
He did?
Yes, Charles did. In 1971, he began an attachment to RAF Cranwell, Lincolnshire. He flew himself as a Cranwell to train as a jet pilot.
Second year, it's under Charles III in Wikipedia. Sorry, I'm not used to that.
He flew the DHC-1 Chipmunk trainer aircraft with the Cambridge University Air Squadron. He made his first parachute drop from a Hawker Siddeley. And after, so he was doing that with the RAF, and then he went into the naval training, and he did his initial education was service aboard a guided missile destroyer, the frigates Minerva and Jupiter.
Oh, he was active duty in the Navy. That wasn't just like a 2-week.
And he finished as a surface.
Pictures of me out here. He really did that.
And he finished his time as a surface officer. Charles returned to the air and qualified as a helicopter pilot at the Royal Naval Air Station, Yelverton. And then he joined the Naval Air Squadron, which operated from the HMS Hermes. He took command of the Minesweeper in 76 until he left active naval service in December of that year. So that was just his last bit. And then he expanded his naval education in 74. He expanded his naval education with the Royal Marines. He had attended the All Arms Commando course.
Where did he go to college?
I think he was he at Cambridge?
He didn't go to Sandhurst or anything.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't remember.
Yeah, who can remember which ones went to Sandhurst? Me either.
I think he went to Sandhurst. I thought his dad made him go.
Oh, hang on, I'll tell you in a minute. Let's see.
Suck the joy out of your life, Sandhurst. No, because his father was such a dick about it.
Sandhurst is, it's highly prized.
Also grim.
That's their military academy.
Everything I've heard about it is grim.
Yeah,
it's like going to prison.
That's exactly what I've heard it's called.
Awful.
Exactly.
And apparently Charles hated it.
I knew several Sandhurst grads. They were just normal Royal Navy officers when I was at the postgraduate school.
Mm-hmm.
Got to know them, and but they talked about Sandhurst. They were glad to be from there. They didn't miss it at all.
I could be out of it for just a little bit. I shall be right back. I mean, quick as a jiff.
Sure enough. So anyway, let's say hello to chat, and really appreciate you guys coming out and listening to us go on and on. I see Costin is here, blaming me, no doubt. Addie is here. Addie! And Badger, Assassin, of course. Tally, who else? Johnny Hellcat. Well, very good. James Colley, nice to see you. Cannibalistic Wizard. If I didn't say Johnny Hellcat already, hello, Johnny. And Adam is here. Hi, Adam. Rotten Corpse, nice to see you. And just love having everybody come by and at least stop by and say hi. Harry isn't here tonight. He was just too tired. And we told him to go get some rest and to take it easy. So, hey, absolutely, Johnny. Hang on. It's coming your way on Discord right now. Love to have you on, my brother. Love to have you on. All yours, man. All yours. Come on. Come join us. Come join the fun. Costin's getting around to blaming me, but at any rate, didn't Charles fly F4s? I don't know if Charles flew F4s or not. I don't think he did. I think Charles ever fly F4. And yeah, actually he did. He did fly F4 Phantom. And he also flew the Avro Vulcan. I didn't know that he had done fixed wing. So I guess he did fixed wing in addition to the helicopter. But he was a Phantom pilot. And at the Avro Vulcan, by the way, if you ever want to look at a beautiful plane, beautiful but deadly plane, Avro Vulcan is a great looking plane. It kind of will remind you of a futuristic vision, kind of the way people thought about jets back in the 1950s. But I'd like to welcome Johnny Hellcat to the show, and welcome back Prospero, I hope.
Yes.
And how you doing, Johnny?
Oh, not too bad.
What do you know that's good?
Things are going pretty smoothly, actually.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My wife and I are one step out of the debt that we have buried ourselves in.
Good.
Excellent.
So we have she put a lot. She applied for a credit card that had a 0% interest rate. That she signed up for it last year, I think in February, and she put a whole, because there was situations that we needed that kind of desperate move.
I
Mhm.
know what you mean.
And so she's like,
Been there,
Still
done that,
make-
have the scars.
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
they still make you pay for it, no matter how desperate you are.
yeah. And it's one of those things you can't be late for, because
Right.
not
Yes.
only would they ding you for the late, they'll hit you for interest for everything back to when you started.
Yes, at almost usurial rates.
And
Almost.
I
Yeah.
had
Thoroughly.
22.5, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Johnny.
I had finished paying one of my credit cards off, and I was like, okay, so now that I'm not making this payment, this is going towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to chip away at that, and we finally got that paid off. That was a $3,000
Awesome.
movement.
That is a nice lodestone kick to the curb.
And so now officially my other card is paid off, and that was about $1,000 that I had there.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Good job.
My
Well done,
loan,
yeah.
my loan to pay my other credit card, because that, like, while we were making those two payments, like when you pay like minimum, like I didn't pay minimum,
Mhm.
but I paid minimum enough to where it was like one step forward, two step, like a step and a half step back.
Yeah.
So like, just
Or-
because interest is what kills you there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's one step forward, then a punch in the mouth as hard as they can.
Mm-hmm.
One step forward, one step forward.
Yeah.
Life can feel that way.
And you better say thank you, or that rate just went up another, you know.
Yes, sir. May I have another?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can feel that way at times.
So had you
congratulations.
consolidated some debt and put it on that loan, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pretty much moved her one credit card, because she had two credit card bills,
Mhm.
and moved that credit card bill over to the other one because it had that 0% rate.
Yep.
And so we just hammered that as much as we could, in to the point where we're like calling them. We're like, okay, so the official due date is supposed to be in March, and they're like, well, no, technically it's the first pay in April. And they're like, we're like, and what's the reference number for this call? Like,
Yeah.
so like we're gonna hold you to that, so that if you go pull this bullshit, we have this here.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she mentioned like that, I'm like, because if something goes wrong, it's all gonna go to shit.
Good for you. Good though,
But
to make sure that you got somebody that could, some way to verify that was the information you were given.
yeah,
Sometimes you're not always dealing with the top people, if you know what I mean.
well, one thing I've realized in working my job, and a lot of people are like, what's the reference number for this call? Because I'm going to hold you to this. And I'm like, lady, I will give you all of my personal information if I knew I was wrong. Like, I know this is right. This is going to be right. You have no reason to fear this. Okay.
But I can still
I
give
still
you the
want that
reference
number.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's trust but verify.
yeah.
And it's a very good thing to do, because misunderstandings occur down the chain.
There's
And-
nothing like a paper trail to solve a misunderstanding.
That is
It's the only
correct.
thing. It's the only thing that can solve a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
is
because-
an audit trail.
Or a call from a lawyer once in a while.
Well,
But,
yeah,
yeah.
intimidation, but usually, sometimes that just, you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
As far as getting an absolute solution to something, if you have the chapter and verse down on paper, people find something else to fight about. They won't fight you on that.
Actually, what's really funny is this one lady called in, and I'm going to try and stay as close to bare bones story as possible. The procedure she was looking for is not covered, and she was told this in July.
Mm.
And she calls and gets me, and I'm like, you know, you do have, for most procedures like this, you have a line of shit you need to do before they allow even something like that. And so, and honestly, I think this is mostly her provider's fault, because like the providers can look up benefits for the members too.
Yes,
and that's
they,
one thing.
they
And
can.
that's one thing members don't realize, is that you don't need to contact just us. Like, they can do the same thing we can do, except for they have like, it's
Yeah.
it's different side of the same coin.
Yeah, it is. But I always used to tell patients to contact their insurance company because it's you that they have the contract with.
Mhm.
We don't have the contract with the insurance company per se. We might have a provider agreement, but
You
that's
got a
not the
provider.
same.
I was going to say you got
That's
a provider
not
contract.
the
I
same.
know.
And I was like, you are your best advocate.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand is that, like, we have the, like, on our side they have the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
On the provider side, they have the codes.
Right. Yeah.
So they will tell you, shut the fuck up.
The cat wants a cigarette.
He's singing the song of his people.
Uh-huh. There was a bird today doing that at the top of his lungs in our neighborhood, and I was like, damn, that bird's rich history of his people.
But
yeah, but they
you
can run the
distracted me.
codes and see if they're
Well-
covered or
Well, they can give us the codes and we check the codes.
Yep.
But it has to come from them. Like, we can't just
Yeah.
pull them out of our ass.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're talking about diagnosis codes
diagnosis and procedure.
and procedural.
Yeah. Because that is how they bill.
Mm-hmm.
That is how as inexpensive as it
Been
is.
there, done that.
Yes. And so, yeah, it is.
Patients never know that shit.
And so that's when we're telling them, like, you know, go get those codes, come check us. We
Mhm.
will tell you if there's something that says, hey, this is not a thing. And a guy who was in my class, as we were the only two of our class that remain. He took the call and he told her that this is not a benefit of the contract.
Yep.
And her provider had her jump through all these hoops for that service that's not going to be covered because it's not a benefit of the contract. And
at all, regardless of hoops.
Yeah.
Somebody let her down big.
Yeah, her
time.
provider did.
Yeah.
In that instance, her provider did, because at that point, and I don't know if they're in-house billing the provider or not, you know, whether they're farming it out to a billing company. If not,
Would that make a difference?
Well, no, because you should have a benefits coordinator.
Oh, I got you.
Working through
Whether or not you would have that available, right?
at the practice,
Yeah.
though, you know, and because there are so many PPOs and HMOs and that kind of stuff, and there have been for years. And like with Medicare or Medicaid, you need to have somebody looking at the benefits. Now, if they're like chucking that out the window toward like a billing company, a third-party billing company, then God help any of their patients. But, you know, somebody should have called y'all, Johnny,
Yes.
and said, this patient, you know, we want to refer him for XYZ procedure, you know, blah, blah, blah. That does not covered.
When were you working for? Were you working for a PPO, Prospero?
No. I was one of those third-party medical billers.
Oh, you were a third-party medical biller, so
doing primarily psychiatric.
Who did you interface with, though? With the
I
providers
interfaced
directly,
with
or
with the providers directly, because I mean we were a small enough company that I was, in some cases, training provider staff
Oh, okay.
on the billing software. So I mean, both dealing with psychiatric and ophthalmic at one point, which was entertaining. And I came into this totally by
Parting the eyes
accident.
and makes you crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I came into it totally accidentally. I mean, it was right up my alley because I like anatomy. So you tossed me an ICD-9 at the time. It was the ICD-9. And you tossed me a book.
Before you write in, thank you.
Yeah, International Classification of Diseases. And that was just like a field day for me because once I realized it was like outline form, categorized by parts of body, or systems, bodily systems, actually. I was like, ha-cha-cha, and I actually never took a coding course. And I was having to deal with both the
I would imagine you probably picked that up on your own.
Yeah, I did. I got 18 months worth of unfiled Medicare, Medicaid claims from a free clinic.
Oh, this was the big
handed
project.
to me.
Yeah.
And the ICD-9 book and the CPT code.
And
book.
said, "Go for it, girl."
Yeah. And I was like, any hint? Not really. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
You
can read, right?
I can read, and fortunately,
you can also think.
Yeah, I really had enjoyed the human anatomy portion.
You'd been thinking
my biology
for some time by this time.
Yeah, I had been thinking.
You're an experienced thinker.
Yeah.
So you can figure out what the hell you were.
I was all grown up in my 30s and everything.
So you were in your 30s, okay?
Yeah. I mean, I might have.
It makes a difference. You do have,
the intestinal fortitude,
more confidence.
Yeah.
That.
I put a sign up over
your
my
field of
office
flux is beginning to grow thin.
Yeah, and I put a sign up over my office door when that was going on of the abandon hope, all ye who enter here.
Mm-hmm.
Abandon all hope.
At least it wasn't Arbit Mike Fry.
Fuck that shit. But don't you think I didn't imagine it once in a while walking through the door?
I know you did.
These look a little like iron gates today. But I misstated it. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. There you go.
What is that the inscription of? What is the origin?
The gates of hell. It's from Dante's Inferno.
Is that from Dante's Inferno, or does it go back before that? I think it's.
Okay, wait a minute. Abandon all hope.
It's Inferno.
Thank you. I thought it was.
Hang on. All hope, ye who enter here. That's the actual.
Yes, I got it in the right order because I abandon hope. All ye who enter here is what I keep trying to say. Abandon
Esperanza. Okay, so
abandon all hope. Anyway, I put that over my door. My boss made me take it down. I was like, nobody.
Actually,
you should have put it up in Italian.
What's really funny is my coworker and I, who graduated in the same graduated. We passed the same class. We started off as 8, and we are the last 2 to remain. Wow.
That's because you're smart too. You are. You're a determined fellow, Johnny.
But so we have an ongoing joke that we are just one bad day away from getting fired.
Yeah.
And so whenever our boss, because they have us do like weekly meetings, and so we kind of play it off like, okay, this is it. If you want to get started packing my things, just make sure it's in an orderly fashion. And she's like, you guys need to stop. Like,
you're probably making her nervous.
Well, she knows that it's a joke. And so, but because it's just something that we run with just because.
I want this on my mausoleum.
Nice.
That's actually quite pretty. Yeah, I'm sorry I
Yeah,
derailed.
that's why I got it. I thought you would enjoy it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Don't you like the way, Johnny, I took over your conversation?
It's the same thing Camel does. It's fine.
It's not nice. It's not nice. I know it's not nice, so I am apologizing.
You have to understand that Prospero is the conversational engine of this show. I'll tell you that completely in terms of being able to craft a narrative and to talk in an expository fashion. It is, just comes very naturally to you. And
My mother never put it that way. Thank you.
well, the thing is, it makes it easy because my strength always has been more to ask questions, counterpunch, and insert things and try and send the conversation hither and
You're
yon.
still putting lipstick on a pig, buddy. It's diarrhea of the mouth is what I've got.
No, that's not. That isn't true. That isn't true. And we've had people on the show who did have diarrhea on the mouth, and you notice that they're not here anymore.
Camel, I have numerous amounts of proof between you and Sanguine that you guys just hijacked the show.
Well, yes. When Sanguine, see, here's the thing. Prospero will go off and she'll talk about interesting stuff, and that's why you have her on the show. Sanguine talks about interesting stuff, and sometimes he talks about it in a lot of detail, and you have to be prepared to go there with him. Now, I really enjoy that. I thoroughly enjoy that kind of spurgy aspect. But
Alice
is for everybody.
Alice's backpack.
What's really funny? What's really funny about it is like I'll start the close, and then he'll say something, and then we'll just jump right back into the conversation.
That reminds me of the time.
Just for the love of God, don't ever let him do the man in the arena.
I think there was. I think one of the first streams. I think it was. I think it was like an hour and a half. I'm just like, I'm kind of tired. We're going to call it. And then like something happened mid chat and we kind of just kept talking. And then I completely forgot that I was like, oh yeah, by the way, it's 45 minutes later than when I said I was going to close the stream. So let's get this done. And then we went another half an hour after that.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because you think, okay, I'm tired. I really just need to stop doing this.
But
and
you
an
get
hour
caught
later,
up in the conversational thread.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I can find it very invigorating. When I said Alice's backpack, sometimes I felt like I was, the backpack on Sanguine's back as we went down the rabbit hole, because I, like Skep and like Sanguine, will disappear down rabbit holes. We'll go into agonizing minutia.
Oh yeah.
About stuff. Skep and I had a private conversation one time when we wanted to know how many governments there had been in Italy. And I think we spent 45 minutes on the Wikipedia page counting federal, state,
we were saying,
regional.
This was a special election. Do we count this one? They can only form for part of a session. No, we're not going to count them. We're going to fold them in with this one. Yeah,
and both our ears were tired, so we didn't do local governments.
But I remember we came up with a number, and it was very satisfying. We were both very happy about that.
It was like 137 or something.
It was like 137.
And it was, but Johnny, it was just ridiculous. But it's the kind of thing that, it's why it's why early days you found that it was Skep, Sanguine, and me.
Yeah, very much
streams. So. The very first stream I came on, it was Skep and Sanguine. Because I had razzed them from the chat, and Eve reached out to me and she said, would you like to be on Minions sometime? And because I knew I would have things to talk about with you, Skep, and with Sanguine. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of blossomed from there. Have things to talk about with pretty much anybody.
I was the one who was running around saying you need to come over here, get on these shows and start talking. That I was your big advocate before you came over to Minions. And you were on the way anyway because of the monkey exposure, because everybody knew who you were from chat. The interesting thing about the way we all met was
through monkey, basically. Yeah.
Well, it was through monkey. It was, there was this other interesting person in chat named Prospero, who I thought for the longest time was a man.
Most people would.
And what you didn't give anything away. Yeah, I mean, you were making some pretty hardcore call outs that nobody else in chat was getting.
Except monkey.
Yeah, except and you were doing it for Monkey and Scribe, I think. And you were showing off. And so I started cutting back with, let you know that I knew what you were talking about. And that was how you and I got to talking independently.
Yep.
And but if you go back, Johnny, you can find Sanguine and I reading war poetry at each other, and all kinds of bizarre. You can find things where Prospero talked for 20 minutes without stopping about, and always in the service of recounting a story. That's when you start talking and you don't stop, is when you're recounting a story that's important to you and important to the conversation. And I gotta tell you, sometimes it's just fun to just put up my feet and sit back and listen to you.
There she goes.
I love it. God help me.
As opposed to my mother, who would be prompted to walk across a room, turn the light off, and go, maybe she'll shut up if the spotlight's off of her. The yes, dear.
Who was more of an influence on you in terms of your verbal abilities? Your mom or your dad, or did they both?
My dad could hold forth and people would turn to cement. I swear to God.
Really?
Yeah, he really could hold forth. And occasionally like my mother said, she never found him boring. I never found him boring, but he didn't modulate his voice anywhere near as much as I do.
Really?
No.
Where did you learn that? You had to learn somewhere. Probably
my mother. Rather expressive speaker. My mother was very verbal. I mean,
by the way, Minions lore note here: Prospero is an only child.
Yes, very, very much so. If you can't tell, that's why I can talk 20 minutes straight, and these people just run away in fear.
Right.
She was the one that was giving me vocabulary quizzes out of the back of the World Book Dictionary when I was 6 years old. And called a halt to it in 5th grade vocabulary because she was like, okay, now you're just guessing.
Yeah.
But so, she was an extremely verbal person, well-read, reasonably well-read. Not like saturated in the classics or anything. But she, so probably, I watched a lot of TV.
Listening to TV announcers is not a terrible way to learn how to express yourself.
And you
they're overly perfectly modulated, but it's one way to learn.
Well, I've told you before, being an only child can make you highly performative.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so you learn.
I don't know that, but I can see that.
You can learn to look for feedback. And you can self-train through feedback.
Yeah.
On how to be funny, how to be quick, how to be expressive. I don't know where all my expressiveness comes from because my mother was like, for God's sake, could you stop gesticulating?
That's one thing we miss is we don't have the physical effect of your speaking. So
a man I almost smacked in the face in a grocery store because I was gesturing said, "Funny you don't look." He said, "Funny you don't look Italian."
So you're gesterful. Okay.
Yeah, Well,
I am
some of
too.
it I used to do in front of my face, which is very body language protective.
Yeah.
You know, when you're
Shielding.
gesturing in front of your face. Yeah, it's very shielding. I stopped doing that. I got better at face-to-face communication and less self-conscious.
Yeah.
Highly self-conscious when I was younger. I mean, I really didn't get over being self-conscious probably till my 30s or 40s in all senses of being highly self-conscious.
And not to change back to the topic, but
Please do, because that was your story.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm not
continue,
interested in talking about my childhood. I really am not. I mean, I hear the words coming out of my face and I'm like, oh shit, who cares?
The punchline being, at my meeting, I played taps. And she, like, I played it on full blast from my phone. Other people are on calls talking to members, and I am blasting at the loudest volume taps. And my coworker, my graduate coworker, is like keeled over in his desk, just trying so hard to hold it together. And everyone else is just looking at me confused because they don't understand the aspect of it. And I'm just like, I've just got this sorrowful look on my face as I'm walking towards the meeting room, just holding my phone up and playing taps. And my boss is like, you need to stop this now. And I'm like, it's never happening.
I got almighty.
Like,
I'm gonna smack the shit out of you.
That's funny.
I do like that though. Hey. I love Hate Camel giving me the emojis with it. Yeah, you're not wrong. And I really wasn't in high school with that many Italians, but it's just, it was so funny when this guy said this, you know, because all I'd done is kind of thrown my hands out wide, you know, in that gesture of good Lord.
Yeah.
It's just funny you don't look Italian.
Actually, it's pretty funny because when I talk, I gesture a lot as well.
Yeah.
And my friend hates it because while we're driving down the road, I tend to, like, if I'm talking to where I tell someone, hey, buck off, I will usually double bird it. And so he's just like, you know, other people can see you, right? He's like, they're going to think you're flipping them off. And I'm like, well, sucks to be us then, I guess.
It's not like you're driving through a neighborhood where you might be targeted or something.
Actually, we were in suburban Seattle.
Oh, brilliant.
He's like, this is probably the worst place to be doing that.
You know, if they get upset with you, just look at them and go, you are affecting my two spirits.
Yeah, if the shoe fits, let them wear it.
Yes, no kidding. I mean,
well said, Rotten Corpse.
Yeah. I bet most of them are like, yeah, I probably did deserve that bird.
I mean, it's totally not undeserved, but I mean, be considerate, man.
I don't gesture too much when I drive. I'll flip people off under dash level because I'm not interested in getting shot in the face.
I have an interesting story about road rage that I told it about 4 years ago on stream, and I'll tell the story again. It's very brief. Happened when I was back in my stockbroking days. So we're talking 1982, I'm going to say. And I had a friend, fellow stockbroker, and she drove down to Houston from Dallas, about a 5-hour drive, and was palling around Houston. and she had a cute little convertible and was famous for driving just driving crazily and cutting people off just brutally. And she was the biggest bitch you've ever met in your life.
Like my sister.
So anyway, she's down in Houston. She cuts this guy off getting on a freeway, and she didn't figure out about the freeways down there that they were going to come up to a stop about a few hundred feet up there. This guy gets out of his pickup truck and walks up to her. She's stuck in traffic. I mean, it's not stop and go traffic. It's stop traffic. Houston does this. Houston has really bad traffic. And it was particularly bad back in the 80s. He walks up. He's got a gun. He blows her windshield out of her car. So she's peeing herself literally and crying, squealing. She's not the angry, cut you off, bitch, kind of moment. And she said she looked up and he just shook his finger at her, got back in his truck, pulled up on the shoulder and passed everybody on the shoulder going on up to the next exit. She never saw him again.
Attaboy. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? That was a terrible thing to do, sir.
She was, and she
consider that a lesson learned, ma'am, for being a hideous bitch.
Let me tell
you was your windshield.
That had an effect on her. At least as far as her driving. I drove with her a couple of times after that, and the effect was dramatic. She was a sedate driver, at least when I was in the car with her. But when she came back and she was telling that story, and she started crying in the middle of it, and I thought, wow, this girl is hard as nails. From Philadelphia.
Oh, I'm sure it scared the shit.
Mean and street tough and the whole thing. And she just came unglued. Just telling the story. Telling the story.
Yeah, I'm sure it scared the shit out of her.
Yeah, it did.
It would have scared the shit out of me. Of course, I've never driven like that.
Well, the thing of it is, in spite of all that stuff, every one of us, there were 4 guys in that office, all of us hated her. And every one of us was going,
I'd like to shake his hand.
That's just him. I'm still not apologetic about that.
Well, like I said, good for him.
Just as mean as hell.
I hate to be that Texas for a Virginian, but I'm kind of like, some people just need a lesson taught to them the hard way.
This was a NEPO, I think they called them, and her father was a very successful broker in Philadelphia, which is where she was from. She was sent down to Texas to help get Las Colinas off.
Thought her shit didn't.
But she couldn't. But she couldn't make enough production. So her father journaled her some of his production because he's a very successful stockbroker. So it didn't matter. She was under no pressure. And everybody in that office knew she was under no pressure because dad was,
funneling her business. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically just supporting her. And that just thoroughly pissed us off. And the one time we really got a little bit of satisfaction because she had the best of everything. She had instantly replaced, car and all that stuff. No talk of repairing it, just a new car appeared. And, but we had that one time where
I just love the fact he shot her windshield out. That's funny as shit.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Just a bunch of striated laminated glass. How amazing, it's just with a little hole in it. I don't know what happened. Maybe a bullet in the seat.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the damage that Double Out Buck does. That's what he had loaded in there. If he'd have shot her, he would have killed her.
Of course he would have.
He would have killed her. He shot right past her face, across toward the passenger side. Jesus, that
it was reckless, very, very reckless behavior on his part. The man probably should not have gone unpunished, but I'm sure there were people.
That was 1982 in Texas. So
in traffic who had observed her behavior, who saw the whole thing happen, saw
Didn't
him
see a
drive
thing,
away
officer.
and
See a
said,
goddamn thing.
"I'm sorry, but I did not catch the license number."
It was a pink Yugo. That's all I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it was it a Silverado or was it an F-150? I don't know. You know.
Yeah, I think it was red.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was purple, man.
It was
They don't
red,
you know.
white,
Yeah.
something.
Just, yeah,
Yeah.
you suddenly find out, little Yankee girl, that you don't have any friends here.
Yeah, well, that's the truth, you know. An armed society is a polite society. I would like to remind all who listen to here, if you walk away with nothing else from tonight, remember this. Robert A. Heinlein said it, and it's true. An armed society is a polite society.
I'm inclined to
You know,
agree.
Well, by and large,
I just think we would have fewer of these mass shootings if everybody else in the store had a say in how the shooting was going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a. I mean, there was a shooting at the FBI headquarters where a guy shot his supervisor. It's the only person he shot because he was being soaked up by a sponge after that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, he got that one kill and no others because he was taken down by his coworkers. A friend of ours used that as an example to tell someone who was like, guns are bad, okay? He said, I'm sorry. He said, there's an example of a whole room full of good guys with guns.
Yeah.
He said the guy did not have a chance to get another shot off.
Now, that said, I think we have to, you know, focus back in the real victims here are the perpetrators, aren't they? In the case of if it's a member of a disenfranchised group, aren't they victims first and perpetrators later?
I just you know, there's love the sin, love the sin or hate the sin.
Yeah. I hate these sinners. I hate these sinners. I hate somebody who shoots children.
Yes.
I hate
the sin.
I hate that person. I don't hate the sin. I hate him. It's personal. I want to put a gun in his mouth and blow his little head off. Okay.
Yep.
If he's going to kill children, I want to kill him first. Period. Dot. End of it.
Yep.
We have got to do something about these people who are murdering innocent people. That's got to be stopped. And you know,
we've got to stop apologizing for
God, yes, please.
whatever it is in their background that caused this. In this particular instance, you know, I mean, here's the thing that's really irritated me about a lot of these shootings where
What's that?
FBI had them on the radar. In other words, I'm thinking, okay, Alphabet wound them up, Alphabet let them go, Alphabet then comes along and mops up. I've really seriously begun to wonder if some of these people have been wound up by outside forces.
Or just wonder if they are.
Or they're so profoundly fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, when you are dealing with a generation of people now who literally believe that words are violence.
How did that, by the way, how did that happen? How do words become violence?
Because it excuses all kinds of things.
Does it excuse things or does it empower someone to control your behavior?
Well, bingo. You know, people are being taught that other people have control over their feelings.
Yeah.
And that's happy horseshit. You know, and what you've done is you've created a public education system. That what we have done is create a public education system that isn't predicated on moving people past basic educational taxonomy. They'll be vaguely literate, vaguely numerate. So they'll have some knowledge, They'll be taught
They
more
can
about
complete basic tasks and
and
living and daily living.
application, knowledge and application.
We've also hit where everyone needs to feel special.
If everybody's special, nobody's special.
Absolutely. If you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything. You know, it's one of those.
Well said.
And that's what these people.
Let's see if I can find a quote.
They're so easily manipulated, but really they're at knowledge. They have some knowledge, some comprehension, and some application. And beyond that, they have no critical thinking. They do not think consequentially.
We don't train when did we stop?
Because there are no consequences.
Well, no. But seriously, when did we stop training kids to think critically? Because these children are not thinking critically.
When did we get rid of SRA? When did we get rid of SRA? When did we get rid of a lot of those structured educational programs that in many ways contained reading and lessons and structured plans that reinforced basic educational structure where you want to reach beyond knowledge and comprehension and application,
but
move on to synthesis, you know, where people
all
can
right. From the standpoint of formal education, I get what you're saying, but what I was really going for was where in the educational process
parents
did people used to learn critical thinking? Parents is a lot of it. I think parents is a lot.
Parents was a lot of it, and then certain classes that were taught were designed for critical thinking. Or some of
but it's the way those classes were taught.
Yeah.
You can find
they didn't have to be Socratic at all. All it had to do was somebody needed to teach you how to outline things.
Right.
And I tell you, if you have the ability to outline things, or at least bullet point things, okay? Similar, but you know, outlining is very, very good at putting your thoughts in order, at teaching you how to formulate a thesis.
Yep.
How to expound on that thesis and how to conclude that thesis in presentation. Because outlines have to have basically introduction, exposition of some kind, and conclusion.
A list of ideas.
And it helps you when you learn not just to do the, you know, Roman numeral 1A, B, C, Roman numeral 2, but not just that. Basically, what you're doing is a thought flowchart when you outline.
Yeah.
Where you're getting your ducks in a row and separating them by
it's a flow of the organization
class,
of whatever it is you're outlining.
Yeah, you're creating your own taxonomy in a way.
Right. Or
and it's
visualizing the taxonomy that's in your brain.
Yeah, and it is a flowchart. Flowcharts are outlines. If you think about it, they will have some if-then scenario in them, but that's later on, you know,
the captions on the outline will end up in boxes in the flowchart. That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
It is the same structure. It is.
I just thought about that. That's it. I never would have thought of that, but you're absolutely right.
It's organizing your thoughts as logically and progressively from nascent thought to conclusion.
Well, establishes the relationship between different concepts that are
right
in your view on this
and
subject.
It is it is the key to writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's learning.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely.
But I think it's also the key to logical thought. And because you have thesis conclusion and a whole bunch of snakes in the middle, and you have to move those snakes around. Do they reach? A lot of times people will start off with a thesis and a conclusion, kind of hard-coded in their mind, like you're getting ready.
Oh, you mean like the Democratic Party?
Yes, like a lot of liberals, weak, critical thinkers too. And weak scientists too. Looking at you, Tony Fauci.
In fairness, there's that on both sides. There's everything that we're saying about the left here, everything we're being critical about on the left, you can find to some degree.
Oh, absolutely on the right.
Often not as much degree, but to some degree on the right.
And then God did stuff, and then conclusion. I mean, really,
Right, yeah.
that's not to throw believers under the bus by any stretch of the imagination. There's an entirely different thing about faith and logic, so we won't get into that. To me, outlining is the application of some form of scientific structural principle to the social sciences, to the liberal arts, where you're putting logic in use, something that I consider much more in the sciences.
Yeah,
than I do.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I wanted to ask you about, and I thought about this morning. I thought, try and remember this tonight. And it was about, what is your evaluation of the qualitative type analysis that you find not in modern day sociology and anthropology? I know that stuff's garbage, but I'm talking about the stuff from Evans Pritchard back in the 30s and 40s, or even Weber and some of the classical sociologists, from back around the turn of the 20th century, around 1905, 1910, when Weber and Emil, why can't I remember his last name? Don't
ask me. I never took a sociology course in my life.
Well, the thing is, there is good sociology, and it's
I know,
and people who don't know it, they can blaze through life, ignorant of some very important principles that were uncovered and set up by these people. The problem with sociology is there's only so much to it. Yeah. And basically it becomes an expression of, here's how to relate the people's and institutions based on, ethnic and cultural, backgrounds and the sociological implications of these institutions in society. And then everything else is just examples. That really is all sociology should concern itself with. Now,
it's a Venn diagram of where anthropology and psychology overlap.
And part of it is, yeah. And here's the other thing. You can see good sociology. Aidan Paladin is doing excellent sociology. We would have called it back in the day social psychology. I know that's an outdated term now, but
I think it's
we call it sociology now. But anyway, she's doing good sociology. I talked to her about it, and I said it's nice to see somebody who's not afraid of quantitative methods. And she actually pushed back a little bit when I was talking to her about it, and she said, "Don't knock the qualitative stuff." To the qualitative methods that were outlined by guys like Weber and the early sociologists. And by the way, Marx was not a sociologist.
No, Marx was
Marx in the ass.
Marx was a wandering drunk.
Right.
Who thought he knew things. He misunderstood Hegel. He misunderstood everything.
Yeah.
He was a narcissist, I think. Probably malignant. Certainly a malingerer.
Durkheim is the other sociologist.
Durkheimer?
Durkheim.
Okay.
Emil Durkheim.
Jesus, for a moment, I thought you said Horkheimer, and I was going to run
No. Emil Durkheimer was a French sociologist who I was trying to think of. He and Weber, Max Weber.
Max Weber, yeah.
Really the sociologists of that period who were worth reading. And there are later on sociologists who amplified their work, enriched their work, Goffman, people like Festinger, Goffman,
Okay.
who are also worth reading. There is good sociology out there. These people are considered to be like astrologers now by modern sociologists, who are completely prescriptive in what's being launched out there now. I just wondered if you had noticed the tendency in the social sciences to become kind of preachy about politics.
Oh, well, yeah, they have become preachy about politics. They're playing in depths that they're not familiar with, which is fine, but they're influencing policy, which isn't fine. I'm more concerned about what's happening in the hard sciences, to tell you the truth. The social sciences are lost. They're utterly lost to the Marxists.
I don't know about that.
I mean, but we are losing the hard sciences too, and we're losing them very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm
the
more
last 3
concerned
years.
about that. I'm not concerned about flapping lips and opinions that don't matter.
I mean,
I'm with you on that, but
I just don't give a fuck what a historian thinks about anything.
When incompetent people are designing bridges, now I've had
well, it isn't even that. I'm deeply, deeply concerned about the medical community.
How so?
Deeply, deeply concerned. They become uncurious.
Oh, okay.
Are
you talking about doctors?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I'm talking about doctors.
Okay.
The last 3 years has demonstrated that they have become
They've
credulous.
been turned into accountants.
They have become credulous bureaucrats. They believe everything that's said to them from the CDC and the NIH. The NIH and the CDC could preach to them from Mengele's handbook, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is the gospel." There are
a lot of them like that.
There are very, very little. There is an absence of ethics in science now that is quite alarming, extremely irritating, and utterly disingenuous. They have been bought lock, stock, and barrel by research dollars. Those research dollars are coming from certain very large companies that do things with chemistry. And they have the medical community in thrall.
Well, they have for a long time.
And they've been aided and abetted by paper-pushing prats that occupy positions at the federal level of oversight, supposed oversight, or supposed research dollars. People like Anthony Fauci, people like that piece of shit that was in charge of the NIH. Not people like whoever was the CDC director in 2020 at the beginning of this shit, but that's now occupied by another. Bend over and take it up the ass. It's just remember that ass is spelled with PF at the beginning. The revolving door between pharma and the FDA.
Rochelle Walensky.
Yeah, well, that person and there was another one, Dr. Collins, I think. I'm being purposely vague because I can't remember their name and I don't want to defame someone. But, I've spent a lot of time in the last few years.
Rochelle Walensky bothered me.
A lot.
She scares me.
Yeah, so did Dr. Burks, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't have to say anything about old AF. We know he's a piece of shit.
He's
the Swiss
is a mediocre doctor who got caught up in public health and got caught up in something much bigger than he was intellectually.
I think that's being far too kind to him. I think he's much more malignant than that.
So you see active evil on his
I do.
Malice and forethought.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, I understand scrabbling to cover your ass and lying in furtherance of the faith, so to speak. But I think his behavior over the last 3 years has indicated malignancy. Anyone who is foolish enough to say "I am the science" out loud is
How the hell did he formulate that? What happened to his brain?
He
enough.
got 15 seconds of fame
Yes.
from one clip.
That's it. See, here's the
Yeah.
thing: there was enough smoke blown up his ass because of the position he was
He
in
believed it.
that he believed it.
Oh,
He has probably lived his entire life
Prospero.
in a position of the Peter principle, but not the good portion of the Peter principle. If you remember, the people, there's that negative corollary where they keep getting promoted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's one of those.
Yeah, he continues to fail up.
There's a reason he went into administrative medicine. There usually is. People do not have a gift. They don't have a gift with patients, just saying.
If you have a thriving patient population and you love your work, you don't get a master's in public health.
And he did so right after his residency, I think.
Oh, man. He couldn't wait.
Now, I do understand most virologists and immunologists not as much, virologists, yes, do tend to remain in the academic world. But they will be
it's a thing called research.
But they'll be at universities.
If they're any good, they're doing research.
They won't be the guy writing the checks for the funding of the research.
Mm-hmm.
They won't be on the approval board.
Yeah. He is administrative. He's not lying. He's staff.
I imagine whoever supervised him through his residency was extremely gratified.
And when he left,
that he elected not to go into patient care. Because I have a feeling that the MD is medical divinity in his case. Somebody has mommy issues. Okay, let's just look at it that way.
Of course, wouldn't be the first doctor with that problem.
No, but there
are a lot of doctors with toys in the attic. I
brought up Mengele in passing, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination
equating.
Wouldn't dream of watering down Mengele's malignancy.
Anthony Fauci think he's a weak, bad man. That's
I do think we're closer to people embracing Mengele than we are to the opposite.
Yeah.
We are in the business right now of othering people to the extent that kind of malign notion becomes more and more acceptable to people. We already know that it's acceptable in certain places that have lockstep dictator-like behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, China. I don't even think the Russians are as far down the shithole as China is when it comes to any form of ethics. But just, Dr. Campbell.
It's in style. I would say they're both morally bankrupt.
Oh, yes, very much so. One's a weird oligarchy with a strong man with a czar complex in charge of him.
Right.
And the other is a fascist communist state. Whatever.
A fascist who is in charge of an uneasy oligarchy, who is in charge of an uneasy party.
Yeah, I mean,
China's.
Both of them, both Putin and Winnie.
Xi.
Pooh Bear. That's too kind of name for him.
You can't call him that in China. You know that. You get arrested.
I know. And fuck him anyway.
Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
Tubby little cubby all stuffed with fluff.
That's funny. You do remember that song.
Of course I do.
Silly, silly, silly old bear.
Deep in the 100-acre woods where Christopher Robin plays. No, just thanks, Disney. The days. A donkey named Eeyore is his
Now, see,
friend.
China has ruined me on that.
Yeah, I know. It really has. And I love A.A. Milne. Some of that, as long as you don't put the red shirt on Pooh, you can do anything with it. People figured their way around the licensing, on the copyright. And so that's why you get some of those great memes. But when you see that there's no red shirt on Pooh, that's why it's like, what day is it today, Piglet? Today's Friday. Oh, fuck. That kind of nobody says oh fuck on Friday unless they have a weekend job. Oh, glory. Anyhow, watching Dr. Campbell over the last couple of months, Dr. John Campbell, God love him, have the
one of the treasures
have the fog,
Britain, by the way, is what Prospero was talking about.
veil,
Dr. John Campbell. I'll stick his channel in.
The veil has lifted from his eyes, and he has beheld a hellscape in the medical community.
Yeah.
And it's been somewhat illuminating for the rest of us too. I mean, we were already hardcore cynics and bitter bastards, but I'll give him credit. It didn't wound his psyche too hard. He's actually a little perturbed with himself for being as credulous as he was.
He's not credulous anymore, believe me.
Oh, good God, no.
By the way, here is Campbell's YouTube channel on
his sarcasm is splendid. He actually said that the United States was in the Stone Age on one of the last videos of his I watched, which he's not incorrect. He is not incorrect.
No.
I mean, some of his watches are more complicated than others, and I'm not saying if you're not interested in what he's talking about, certainly don't have to watch him, but the man's a hero.
He is, as far as I'm concerned.
He's always been about following the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he didn't have all the evidence. A lot was being hidden from him, and a lot more has come out. And a lot more will come out and continue to come out. This is a genie they cannot stuff back in a bottle.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of things that have come out of the bottle, just to pivot real quick before we have to go, what do you think about all the stuff that's coming out of these DOD, classified DOD documents that are coming out that man, they have names and places. It's pretty fabulous stuff, and it's all out.
I have not read them.
Have you? Yeah, it's hard to get a look at all the stuff in one place because they're doing whack-a-mole on it, and but
do they know who's leaking them?
No, they don't, and they are really hot. They're a lot hotter on this than to find who leaked the Supreme Court.
I would like to congratulate the new Ellsberg. I really would. I'd like to shake their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't been told what to think by Mika Brzezinski yet, so I'm not really quite sure what the
good callback.
Man.
Good callback.
Good
oh my
callback
God!
Indeed.
Those words slip people's lips, and you're like, "Oh, you elitist little twat." It's glorious. I don't think she's any smarter than I am, so she doesn't get a chance. She doesn't
even if I'm in the deep recesses of Alzheimer's, I'm going to call back to that line.
Yep. Yeah, that was just amazing. No, it's up to us to tell them what to think. Oh no, dear, you just said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, what is the matter with you?
Yeah, and
God.
The thing is if anybody had said that sitting next to me, I would have unloaded on them.
She's
would have been my
married
last
to
pick.
Joe Scarborough. I didn't even know she was married to Joe Scarborough. I
Yeah, they
thought
got
were-
married. Isn't that disgusting?
Oh, that is just sickening. So she threw aside her husband of 20 years,
For
who
that.
probably celebrated, who probably got
that.
very, very drunk
For that.
They deserve each other, don't they?
Really, two little weak minds wallowing in each other's glory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know,
if you heard that
Brzezinski-
noise, that was a cat entering a box in a really inelegant way.
Subtle.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just,
I can't control that kind of background
God,
sound.
if you've got to get your news from MSNBC, you are a benighted creature. You have my sympathy.
To go back to the previous conversation, I did find the quote. It is I had to listen to it just to get the audio, so I'm not going to have it word for word. But
that's our job.
When I was raised, I was told that I have a voice and people would like to hear what I have to say, and then I realized no one gives a shit what I say.
There's that.
And that's ad lib, but that's pretty much the truth.
Mm. Yep. It's
Yeah, it's just it's when organizations are involved in making sure that if you want to speak your piece, you're being throttled. Or if you want to worship in peace, you're being observed. We didn't even get to that tonight. My anger at the FBI is boundless.
Why are you angry at the FBI?
They were spying on Catholics in Richmond.
Oh yeah. I saw your comment about that. What do you think about
radical
that?
Radical traditionalists, this term that I've never heard before, right?
Those damn Easter worshippers.
Well, they're apparently,
Well, they're Irish. They could be white,
They're concerned about anti-Semitism and anti-LGBTQIA plus element.
They might say things that hurt us. They might think things that hurt us.
I was like, if you're looking for anti-Semitism, could you just go to Rome?
Paris.
And save
look
yourself
at the people who are pointing you in their direction.
Yes. We're not worried about, but they were trying to get observers inside Catholic churches to report to them. May I point out that a federal agency attempting to infiltrate churches might just have overstepped the First Amendment a little bit. You think?
Yeah. There's that possibility.
I swear to God, the accountants we used to go to were on the same floor with the Richmond FBI office.
Really?
Thank God we don't go to those accountants anymore, because I swear to God, if a suit got on the elevator with us, I'd be like, you work for the agency? And if they said yes, I'd be like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I'm not Catholic, okay? Full disclosure, I'm not Catholic. On behalf of Catholics, in the interest of protecting people from anti-Semitism, to be anti-Catholic is not going to help.
You are to Catholics as Lewis Black is to Jews.
Yeah, I'm a little antithetical to Catholics. I mean,
well, no, I mean the cadence with the fuck yous is very Lewis Black.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd lose my mind on them. I would just start screeching at them. I'd probably end up under arrest. That is how much I hate the FBI right now. Fuck them. Fuck them. I mean, I have been angry at them for a long, but this is stupid. This is an unforced error, you goddamn jackasses. You're so concerned about Donald Trump. That's what's really at the heart of this. You just know it is. You just know it is.
Yeah, taking it back to, them trying to kidnap Rachel Whitmer.
Yeah, What the hell did they want with her? They should have let the FBI agents carry out the kidnapping because the other guys, I mean, really, you wound up one Yahoo with brain, probably has a brain injury.
And what's really funny is it was just one.
Yes, one guy. You got one guy. Everybody else
The
in the
rest
room
of the
was
gang.
agents.
The rest of the gang is either an informant or an agent.
Yeah. There's something the matter with your sting if that's how it's set up.
That's not a sting anymore. That's a conspiracy.
Honest to God, you're not
played
going to
yourself,
win
you
an Elliot
assholes.
Ness prize.
God,
It's
so idiotic.
Yeah, I watched Matt Christensen's video on it, and the only thing that I thought of was I think it was an episode of Law and Order SVU, where they arrested a guy and they're like, "Great, you just ruined my sting operation," and they're like, "Wait, what?" And so yeah, like everyone's like trying to like cooperate on this thing, and instead it's just
Yeah, they blow it.
It's a la Three Stooges rather than a la
Right.
SVU.
I'm just wondering if the asshole that they got to go into the Catholic churches, they're whoever they cultivated to go do this, just like real quick, like before they went in there, made sure they were tanned all over the rest of their body, but shaved the side of their head and put on chinos and a golf shirt so that they looked like the glowies that were all gathered at that second rally in Washington. Because I'm sorry, could you wave a sign a little bit larger that says glowy? It's just these people. Number one, they're I don't know what they're chasing, but I think with the rad trads in the Catholic Church, they're probably chasing people who wear MAGA hats. That would be my guess. That's what they're most concerned about, because Christians purportedly hate the sin, love the sinner, which means to them saying words that back in the old formulation, they don't really harm the sinner. I'm not doing you harm when I say I disapprove of transitioning children under puberty. But you're now saying that the words I just spoke are violence. And that means I'm somehow virulently anti-trans. No, I just don't want you mangling on children. And that's what you're doing. And when the medical community is signing it, this is what I meant, Skep, about getting perilously close to Mengele.
Yes.
This is what they're doing now.
I agree with you. I think it's
that's out of his fucking playbook. This is
I
eugenics.
think it's sinister. Yeah.
If you're changing the gender, trying to change the gender of children, what is that other than like some form of eugenic tinkering?
Mutilation, sadism,
sadistic mutilation, or twisted form of.
I've got a question for you. Why are the centers of this epidemic of need to trans? Why are they in Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, Washington, D.C., Boston, and parts of Philadelphia? And sadly, that one big case in Austin, but there's some of it going down there too. Yeah. Why are those spiking?
Because tolerance is a virtue. Tolerance and mental illness in particular.
I'll tell you how far out of whack the statistics are. I mean, you can't even compute any meaningful statistics on this. The numbers are so obviously skewed that you reject the default hypothesis instantaneously when you see data like this. It's data that's five standard deviations different. It's so much that it doesn't even make any sense. It's obviously being induced. It's obviously being sold to these children. And you have to believe that a significant percentage of these children who are being sold a bill of goods oftentimes that they don't need being talked into procedures by parents who just want to have a darling trans child they can talk about to their cool friends.
And
Down at the
teachers that
latte
can
stand.
have them that they can talk
Yeah,
about in the
yeah,
teachers' lounge. And
yes.
These
Nobody
are
gives
the
a
new
shit about the child. Nobody
These-
cares about the child in
no,
this.
no.
these
No,
are the
it's
new
what they
purse
can make them.
pooches.
Yes, they
yes.
exactly.
It's
Exactly
become
right.
a fashion accessory, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, but it's straight out of Mengele's lab.
Yeah, it's just evil. You're right, but you're right. It has
It's
root
malign.
in
It's
kind of
deeply, deeply malign.
evil.
You're
really
also neutering,
yeah.
and you are also neutering these children.
You are taking these children's chance to have a normal life away because of some chance comment that they made and your need to feel a certain way about yourself and your virtue. Fuck you.
Children like attention, and everybody know teenagers are confused.
Yeah,
about
no
sex.
kidding. Yeah,
I got hard in the men's locker room. I must
Yeah.
like guys.
Yeah.
There
let's
are.
get you off to the surgeon.
Well, it used to be the "Are you gay or are you not" thing, and then some people would find that they actually were a little bi. And then a lot of people were like, "Okay, whatever." That was a transient interest that slid away. There are a lot of people who are curious
Mm.
and then settle into, and not at deep psychiatric harm to themselves, settle into a traditional gender role or choose to bat for the other team. Very few people stay. I mean, the use of the term trans in and of itself, I find to be highly peculiar.
Are these like the lesbians until graduation?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
At Northwestern back in the day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And there is curiosity.
Yeah.
Or people might find somebody of the same sex to be attractive, and then either that frightens them or titillates them.
Mm.
It whatever. I mean, puberty is weird. Puberty is extremely
probably
weird.
Fair.
Everybody that's been through puberty knows that it's weird.
It is the most awkward moment in quite possibly anyone's life.
Strings of moments that last 5 years. I mean, it's like,
and if you make it awkward enough, it'll last a lifetime.
Yeah. And if you pay too much attention, and if you butt into your children's thoughts, forcing kids to tell you everything they think about is not a good idea.
That's never a good idea.
Well, they might say killing you, and good luck sleeping tonight. I mean, I swear to God, they're going to be wise ass kids that's going to be their answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then mom sleeping with one eye open, particularly if she's a hovercraft mom.
Yeah, exactly. Hovercraft mom. Oh, me. Guys, we've been going for 2 hours and 20 minutes. We probably should call it an evening.
God, my ankles are swelling from sitting so long.
Did everybody get said everything that needed to get said?
Yes.
Actually, Camel and I have somewhat of an announcement, just a bit of a shill.
You're finally out, huh? Oh.
Yeah.
You too.
Great fake cry voice, by the way.
Yeah, it was really good.
We are actually going to have FAR on Minions on Thursday.
Oh, excellent.
And where we're going to be talking about the clusterfuck that is Chris Chan.
Oh, cool.
And so since she is the resident Christorian, she'll be kind of explaining things for us.
Cool.
What is Chris Chan?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That is a really good question.
Tune in Thursday and find out.
Absolutely. But yeah, just a bit of a chill there, and that's about it.
All right. Well, we'll tune in on Thursdays, and of course, tune in on Saturday for the Harry Channel version of this show, starring the aforementioned Harry. But I would like to thank chat for coming out and listening to us. We do this for you, and but we do it for ourselves. Have a pretty good time. Thank you to my panel and my friends Prospero and Johnny. And we're gonna call it an evening for tonight. You have spent 2.5 hours of your life with the minions of the zoo, and we're gonna close it up. The zoo is closed. A good